Hi everyone, this is going to be an introduction to Construct 3. We'll go over some of the major components of this game making engine, and I'll also show you how to make a quick click and reveal type of interaction. So once you are at this page, just click on Try It Now and Launch Now, and then we're going to click on New Project. So you can name this whatever you want. I'm just going to name it New Project as well. And I'm going to keep all of the presets. So you can change the viewport size and the orientation, etc. But for now, we'll keep that. So the first thing that I want to do is zoom out. You can always zoom back in. In order to zoom in and out, I'm going to hold the control button and scroll either up or down on my mouse pad. So I just want to zoom out a little bit because I want to show you that this is the size that we see on our screen, but the dotted line is actually what the user will see when they play your game. So you need to keep that in mind, and you can always change these settings by going to the size and the project properties, and you can play around with that. So again, you can just play around with zooming in and out if you need to. So the left-hand side contains all of the properties, so the margin size, the name of your layout, the event sheet, just basic information like that. On the right-hand side, you have all of the components of your project. So this is going to contain everything that you add into your blank canvas to create your game. On the bottom here, you have your layers. So if you want to have a background layer, for example, and you don't want that layer to move and you want to add on top of that layer, or you want to make a specific layer invisible and then visible later on, this is where you're going to be working with all of that. If you do not see these panels, then all you have to do is click on menu and go to view bars, and you can see I have check marks on these, and that's why they're visible. If I unchecked it, it would disappear, and then I can always get it back just by clicking on it again, and then it just hovers around and you can choose where to dock it. So I'm just going to dock it back on the left-hand side here. All right, so let's add some stuff in here. So in order to add anything, you just double click, and this gives you a bunch of different objects that you can insert. The one you're going to work with the most is going to be Sprite, which is under General. This is what you're going to use in order to insert images and create interactions with those images. So once you see this little cursor, just click anywhere, and this is the animations editor, and you will load an image from a file here. So I'm going to click on this and we'll load that. And I won't go over every single thing here. We're not going to animate this in this tutorial, but usually I like to click on the crop icon just to make sure that it's completely cropped. I notice that sometimes when I insert an image, there's a lot of empty space around it, and that gets transferred into the game, and it can cause issues with like collisions. So always make sure that you crop it. And then I always like to double check the image points. So you can have the image point either in the center or on the bottom. You can always just right click to add an image point, or just directly click on the image itself. All right, so in order to get back into the other layout, you're going to just X out of this. It automatically brings it in here. You can adjust the size manually here, or you can adjust the size right here if you have a specific size you're going for. So in order to make this interactive, in order to make the image do something, we have to give the program directions. So right now you are in layout 1, and you can always change the name of your layout. So let's say this was your title screen or whatever you want to call it. You can always do that here just by right-clicking and then clicking on rename. So in order to give it instructions on what to do, you have to go to the event sheet and click on add event. Now, before I add events, I like to add some of the tools that users will use in order to interact with the items. So I'm going to either double click anywhere or right click, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to scroll down to input. So I like to add the mouse. You could just double click on it. I also like to add the keyboard. And I think that's good for now. And you can add other object types. But basically, again, this is going to allow you to say things like, when the user clicks on this, then this will happen, etc. Another thing for future use, make sure that your layout is associated with the proper event sheet, because once you build your games, you're going to have multiple layouts and multiple event sheets. And I see this mistake all of the time where someone will have a bunch of events, let's say in event sheet 1, and then they go to their layout and they preview it and it's not working, and that's because you have another event sheet here. So here we only have one, it's not a big deal, but once you start having multiple event sheets, multiple layouts, just keep tabs on that to make sure that the right layout is associated with the correct event sheet. Okay, so now let's add an event. So I'm going to do something very simple, like click on mouse and object clicked. So you just double click on everything. And here it says when the left mouse button is clicked, what do we want to happen? I'm going to click on the sprite and click done. And let's make him disappear. So we can click on sprite, double click on it, and then we're going to scroll all the way down to destroy. And then you can click on next. But you can see here there's so many other things that you can do. You can set the color, you can rotate the object, you can set a frame. So if you have animations and you want to change the frame of it, you can set the visibility, the opacity, you can add instance variables, and we're going to be talking a lot more about that later on, and I'll give you some concrete examples. You can, set the position and move it, and whatever it is you need to do, you can set the scale, the size. So for now, we're just going to destroy it and click on next. And then in order to preview it, just click on the preview button here. And you see our little RAM, and we're going to test it out. So click on the RAM, and if it disappears, you see that you did it correctly. So let's say we want to, instead of destroying it, we want to change the size of it. So in order to do that, I'm quickly going to go to the layout and just click on your object. And once you have your object clicked, look at the size. And let's say we want to double it. So we'll make it about 200 by 160. So I'm going to go back to my event sheet, double click on this action. So instead of destroy, I'm going to click on set size. And we want to make it, and this could be pretty much anything, as long as it's bigger, but I'm going to try to double it. I'm going to do 200 by 160 and done. So now we're going to preview it, and let's see if when we click on it, it doubles in size. And there you go. So these are just little examples of how you can make objects interactive. There are lots more here. You can add different behaviors. So for example, you can add the bullet behavior. So again, make sure that your object is clicked on, add new behavior, and then there are so many different types of behaviors. The bullet one is the most common just because you have items kind of flying around, but we're also going to go through a lot of these especially the platformer one, 8 direction, etc. So if you do bullet and add, what this does is it just makes your, and let's preview it, just makes your object fly like a bullet. And you can change the properties again over here. So you can change the speed to make it go slower. You can add gravity, add acceleration, set the angle, etc. If you don't want it to have that behavior, just click on behaviors for add and edit. And then with this highlighted, just click on the backspace or delete button and then X out of it, and then it no longer has that behavior. So go ahead and practice by inserting an object and then giving it specific directions in terms of what you want the user to do with that object. Another thing you might have noticed on the event sheet, it says here you have 24 events remaining. And this is basically saying that you have up to 25 events for free. But once you use over 25 events, you do need to pay for the program. So we will be paying for it eventually after about a month or so. I want you all to just basically play around with it first, and we'll do small-ish tutorials with it first. And if we can save you guys a month of purchasing the product, then so be it. So in order to download your work, you're going to go to Menu, and you're going to go to Save As, and you can download a copy. And then just again make sure that your file name is whatever you want it to say. I would highly prefer if you could put your last name in there, and then whatever you're happy with, just make sure it has the C3P at the end, and click on OK. And then download it to wherever you want to download, and then just attach it to Sakai. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me.